Hey, what up, though, folks? We are back here on the ROTL UK podcast with Big Low Kuntry Sports, talking Detroit Lions, Atlanta Falcons. I apologise for that. I missed this smallest of... I just had a power outage and it just knocked everything out, and then it seemed to knock all the audio off when I came back. So hopefully I'm going to be in a case now. I'm just going to check it out, make sure the audio's good, and then we will crack on with this again, because we've just been having are back here on the ROTL UK. Yeah, that sounds like we're doing good there. So, right, apologies, we're going to start from a point and we're going to go again from where I went out, because I missed everything, so I kind of want to get back into this. But we were talking about your team itself, the two games you've won so far, the Green Bay Packers, Carolina Panthers, 2-0. The team, noticeably for you, because we were talking about Glenn, our team's inability to change scheme during games. Your team seems to. It starts slow sometimes, but it finds a way to get to the other teams. What is it specifically the team and the coaches have been doing to, overcome these, holes you've been in, getting you to the 2-0 so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like we were speaking about earlier, I feel like we've been trying to throw the ball a little bit too much at the beginning of the game. And then, once we, realize it's not working, then we'll say in the third quarter, all right, let's go back to doing what we're supposed to do. And then moving forward, we just play in the scope of the offense, So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow they try to throw the ball to Kyle Pitts, because they really want to get him involved. But if it doesn't work, the offense is going to be slow, and moving forward in the third quarter, they're going to go back to what they, what we do, and hopefully make those adjustments. So I think it's just trying things to seeing if they work, and if not, go to what actually works.
And you talking about you'd seen our, you saw our game against the Seahawks so far, specifically offense, and you look at the way we play on defense. How would you be wanting your team to attack us tomorrow from what you've seen, and the weapons you have at disposal? Because we've not even talked about Drake London yet. You have a plethora of good offensive weapons to throw to, as well as to hand the rock off to. So what would you expect them to do from what you saw against us?
I mean, my dream scenario would be, first of all, the pass block. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I need you to be able to do. You can pass block, I think you'll be able to do a whole lot of great things. But I mean, it's kind of like what Ash mentioned earlier. I mean, if we could hit those 10 to 20 yard passes, those intermediate passes, get Drake London the ball, and seeing what he could do after the catch, that would be great. But I mean, once again, I kind of go back to it. If that doesn't work, I mean, just run the ball, because I seen that Kenneth Walker, he had a little bit of success against the Lions last week. But it's kind of like I mentioned, earlier, I seen them bringing three down linemen a lot, and whenever they did blitz, they were bringing 5. They were bringing those 2 outside linebackers. If I'm not mistaken, I think I seen y'all bring a cornerback a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Most famously with the big completion to Noah fans that Lions fans keep coming back to, where we blitzed both safeties and had one of our best edge rushers in coverage on Noah fans, leading to like a 30-yard completion. We were blitzing a lot last week.
Yes, and we all know where blitzing comes from. If those guys up front can't get home, they'll send some extra guys to come and help them. But I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, another guy that I actually wanted in free agency, I feel like that's a big hit, and hopefully, we'll be able to take a few shots. But the thing about C.J. is he plays all over the field. I mean, he does everything. If I'm not mistaken, I think I seen him selling popcorn to somebody in the stands last week. So, I mean, he does it all.
Unfortunately, his heat map for this week is just going to be the executive box with him. Unfortunately, tearing his pec and going on IR, we probably won't be seeing him until Christmas, which is a big shame, because I bought my blue ski mask. He told us to buy it last week. It's sitting there in my cupboard now, gathering dust. That's not coming out until we win the division now. We win the division, I'm pulling it back on. The blue ski mask is back, but until then, It's sitting there gathering dust in the cupboard.
It's been a very controversial topic, the ski masks, for us, Big Low. But have you ever known the Falcons do anything like that? Any of these gimmicks come along? You know, because obviously from a player, because this has all come from CJ Gardner-Johnson. We had nothing to do with it. We were brown paper bags beforehand. Now we're ski masks, apparently. So, have the Falcons ever done anything like that you recall?
We never done the whole ski mask thing. I mean, it's like, we had the Dirty Bird, like, the whole Dirty Bird dance. But nah, we never really. I mean, we used to do the too legit to quit, too legit to quit thing back in the 90s. But we never. I mean, because like.
Well, as in like MC Hammer.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there's a documentary, about the too legit to quit Falcons. You go check it out sometime, but. Yeah. MC Hammer, because he was like best friends with Deion Sanders, so he used to always be on the sidelines, and that was just our slogan for a couple of years. We were too legit to quit.
I wonder if the Colorado win the win the college football, that if Deion Sanders will break out the big MC Hammer pants. That would be great. that would be great.
Hot stepping in the MC Hammer pants. I mean, that'd just be great, though, wouldn't it?
Big old pair of pants.
I had a pair of those pants. Whenever
they were huge.
They were huge.
He might need them for his. He might need them right now because they're 21-0 down to Oregon as we speak. Colorado.
I saw they were down 13.
The hype train might be finally derailing.
No, let's not, because me and Ryan picked them this week, so let's not. I know we quickly mentioned Pitts already, but Brent asks, how do you, Big Low, how do you feel about the way they are using or not using him? Are you fussed if they're winning games? And are you fussed about the way they're using him? Would you like to see him using more, or try and get the ball some other ways? Put him in motion. Are you fussed about it?
Anthony, I do not care. I just want to win the game. I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. Whenever we won week 1, that was our first time with a winning record in 6 years. So I'm happy with winning. I don't care who's catching the passes. You can put Rye out there and have him run routes and he catch the pass. I don't care. As long as we winning, I do not care who's catching the passes.
Tell him, Rye.
I did play wide receiver, but you don't want that.
He's played. He's a receiver, so your wish can come true, Big Low, if you wish.
Defensive back. A receivers that turn to a defensive back tells you everything you need to know.
Hey, Rye, I'll make some calls. I'll get you out there. I got you.
Get some work out.
Richard Sherman 2.0 right here.
Have you guys got any other questions about the Falcons offense? We'll talk about the Lions next, and then we'll sort of move on it bit by bit. But anything else you want to ask Big Low about the Falcons offense?
Who is a player that Lions fans should watch out for that is not a household name? Someone we've not spoke about. Who do you think could hurt us if we don't pay enough attention to them?
I would say Jonnu Smith. So the Falcons, they run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. So that's one running back, 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends. And, Jonnu Smith, he very athletic. I think he's like 6'4", like 240, 250. Runs like a sub 4.5 40-yard dash. In training camp, they had him lined up at every position. He lined up at fullback, halfback, tight end, wide receiver. He lined up all over the place. He's a guy that actually played in Tennessee when Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator. And from what I saw, it looks like the Lions kind of struggled a little bit whenever teams lined up in that 12 and 13 personnel. So I would say Jonnu Smith would be a guy to kind of look out for tomorrow.
I mean, Ash, you're our formations guy, Ash. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, so I've got it up in the thing. The Falcons run 12 and 36% of the time, 21 and 28. They only run 11, so what everyone sees as base now, on 11% of their offensive snaps. And it makes sense that you pick out the tight ends because the Lions have had a weakness against the tight ends, both in terms of covering them, and then until this year with our Lord and Saviour Sam Laporta also picking them in the first round of the draft.
Right, so we'll quickly switch it on to the Lions offense, who are talking about 2 in this one. So, guys, the offensive line is banged up this weekend. No Taylor, no Hal. I mean, what would your preferred lineup be for the offensive line this week? Out of it, because Glasgow has been in there last, but we got Corby in there with Colby. What would your preferred lineup for the offensive line be this week?
For me, I would put in Dan Skipper at right tackle. I'll kick Sewell and keep Glasgow. And for me, that's probably the most solid I'm going to go.
Steve?
I didn't think Matt Nelson was that bad last week. I think he gave up a couple of plays, but I think Skipper is definitely maybe one for the Packers game. But I'd probably keep Matt Nelson there and put Graham Glasgow in instead of Vitae.
Ash?
Yeah, I'm with Steve. Just sub in Glasgow for Vitae. Don't mess up it even more. Especially since, no offense to the Falcons edge rushers, but looking at them, they don't scare me as much as that interior. So I want that as big and beefy and solid as we can get it. I don't want to mess with the tackles right now.
We'll give you a chance. We'll give you a chance to respond to that one. But for me, I don't know. I would want to give Sorsdal some time. I think at this point, I don't think Glasgow was good last week. That's just me. I thought he was poorer out of the ones who came in, and we've seen with Marvin, ages, playing Father Time. It's catching up there a little bit.
He came in and gave up 4 pressures.
He did, yeah.
Water.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, and the trouble is, it's Nelson. If you've got Panay at right tackle, you kind of can be a bit more adventurous with your guard. But when it is Nelson, do you have to go with the vet there? But me, I'd stick Sorsdal straight in, and I'd put Nelson out there, and then leave the other 3 as they are. But it's going to be a pain in the neck. But the running back room, David Montgomery's not playing. We know that. This doubtful it's the biggest out since outs were invented. Everyone's talking about Gibbs and his usage. But Reynolds got carries in front of him last week. Are we giving Jahmyr Gibbs the full boatload this week, or are you still going to try and run it by committee? Because obviously he still has receiving uses as well. Are you going to give Gibbs a lot, guys?
No. No, but I'm not giving Reynolds a lot either. I'm sick to death of seeing Craig Reynolds run the ball. He's useless. Bad night, give him the rock, and then have Jahmyr Gibbs either side of him, 2 back sets, put him out in the slot. I trust Donovan Knight. He had some really big flashing performances last year. I think I trust him to give him the share of the carries.
Steve, how? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay. So I'm gonna pose a question. I'm a devil's advocate. Why can't we do with Jahmyr Gibbs what the Falcons have done with Bijan? What's so different?
So to answer your question, Steve, the Falcons have actually given Allgeier more carries so far this season. Bijan has not been a true sort of workhorse back that we would build. So,
but he's had more carries than Gibbs.
He's had more carries than Gibbs, but at the same time, Gibbs is not as built as Bijan. And to be honest, Gibbs has been quite efficient with his low touches. If you start loading him up, he's going to get more knocks. He's going to take more hits, and his efficiency is going to go down. I probably would give him a few more carries this week because the Falcons' edges haven't done so well in run defense. So Dupree has earned a 49.7 grade in run defense. On the other side, Epiketti's at a 52.7. So I will use Gibbs a bit more because you can target the outside zones, attack those edge rushers. But at the same time, I'm not loading him up and giving him 25, 30 touches this game because that's just asking for trouble, because we've already seen what's happened to David Montgomery, who's more of that bowling ball built yards after contact kind of guy. Gibbs is a more missed tackle, make you miss in the open field. If he takes a lot of hits, we could risk our investment at number 12. So Bijan, he can take it because he's a bit bulky, he's got that sort of load to him. Or Gibbs is more like my kind of frame. He's very slender, and if he gets hit by Troy Anderson or Caden Ellis a bit too hard on a couple of times, you could have him having a soft tissue injury and then that's him out for a couple of weeks, and we're down to Craig Reynolds, Bam Knight, potentially calling up someone like Benny Snell again or Divine Zigbo. We really want to make sure that our first round investment is protected, so we don't overload him too early when he hasn't got the weight to sort of take the hits.
So Zonovan's...
I think you just scheme him. You just scheme him like he's our biggest offensive. We've been sold that he's our biggest offensive weapon, that we've drafted, and we know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing with an injury. We know that Jameson Williams isn't going to be back for another 3-4 weeks. David Montgomery's out. We need to have a spark, and a couple of the runs that they had Gibbs doing last week, they're getting him running up the gut. It's like, what are you doing? Like, give him the touches, give him 15 or 20 touches, but give him them in positions where he's not running into a wall of players.
So to expand on this question, I mean, and I'll ask all three of you, what do you want to see the offense do tomorrow? Because I mean, it's not been a problem so far this year. It's been great, but Amon-Ra is hurt, Monty is out, the line is banged up. So how do you what do you want to see the offense do tomorrow to hurt the Falcons? How are they going to have to what are we going to have to do, and what would you like to see them do?
Go after the cornerbacks. You attack the outside. Avoid Jesse Bates at all cost. I wanted him in free agency. He's rejuvenated. He got his bag. Do you know what? Go after Jeff Okudah. I genuinely think the first chance we get, let's test him. He's going to be more pumped for this game than anyone. I think we went after Devon Witherspoon last week. I think we're going to see a lot of Khalif Raymond this week. Like I say, Amon-Ra could be a bit slow, but yeah, Josh Reynolds and Sam Laporta going out against the right side two corners. I think we're going to win down the sidelines. I think we're going to try avoid the middle of the field because the Falcons, like I said, have got good safety pairs. I think that's where we're going to try and take our shots primarily.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Is if I were the Lions, what I would do, I would try to run us out of the building, because I mean, we know what Jared Goff is capable of doing. If this is one of those situations where if y'all get 21 points by halftime, it could be a tough day for us, because we're the type of team, we ground and pound. We take 7-8 minutes off the clock just to score or kick a field goal. But if y'all can put up 21 points by halftime and force us to throw the ball, I think that'll put y'all in the game.
So I'll ask you in a minute, Ashton, Steve. But what really worries you about this offense, Big Low Kuntry, then? Because you've seen, you saw us play against the Seahawks. You've seen the defense and its weaknesses, but our offense is good when it wants to be, and it is banged up. But what sort of really worries you, just from our offensive standpoint?
So it's like our defense has a lot of moving pieces. So just like I believe Steve mentioned earlier, like he said that y'all weren't running that many stunts. Like, you could call us Evil Knievel because we're stunting a whole lot up on that front four. So with that being said, I think the thing that I'm worried about the most is like stunts. They're fine and great until you get burned. So if you run a stunt and if you run to where somebody's stunting from, and that linebacker's not there to fill that gap, that's a hole. Also, the first two games, you got to think, we played two inexperienced quarterbacks. And Bryce Young, who, it looks like he's getting benched. They say it's an ankle injury, but it sounds like he's getting benched. And Jordan Love. So, this is going to be our first game with this new defense against an experienced quarterback. So, things like that are things that concern me. And I'm really worried about y'all putting up points in bunches against us.
Steve, what do you want to see from the offense tomorrow? I know you've kind of done it with Gibbs there, but just go through it. What do you want to see them do tomorrow to really hurt the Falcons?
I just want to see them just really, really mix it up. I want to, Josh Reynolds for me has been like one of the stars of the season, totally under the radar of a lot of people. I want to see him getting the ball. I want to see a few deep shots to Khalif Raymond again. I want to see Gibbs used as a receiver as well. Maybe running, maybe in the slot, catching some passes. Like, I know he's dropped one, but like, remember when DeAndre Swift dropped that one in the end zone against the Bears? They threw it back to Swift, and he caught 1-2 games later for the win. And that's what we need. We need to like make sure that we don't wrap Gibbs up in cotton wool, because if we try and like save Gibbs, then we're going to lose matches. We're going to lose against people like the Packers. We're going to lose against the Cowboys. He needs to play in these games, and he needs to have meaningful snaps. So yeah, don't do anything stupid. Don't have him pounding the rock 25 times up the gut. but scheme him so he gets touches and meaningful touches. And I think, as Big Country said, like tight ends, someone like Sam Laporta, we've seen his yards after the catch in college. We've seen how he's been playing. I think he could be a weapon as well. So I think Goff just needs to spread it around. And I don't often disagree with Ryan, but I don't think Craig Reynolds has been that bad. Like, Craig Reynolds is like a decent, serviceable number 3 running back. He's got pretty good ball security, and I would trust him. I would, again, what's the point of avoiding giving him snaps? Like, he's RB3, that means next man up, he's got to step up, and he needs 20 carries.
Fair enough. Ash?
I'm going to go straight back to, because I said it in the game preview, defensive line and Jesse Bates, Caden Ellis need to avoid. So, especially deep, don't be taking the deep shots unless you can ensure you're thrown away from him and AJ Terrell. But the edges and whoever is lining up opposite Terrell, target them. So, play option deep shots with Reynolds and Khalif against Jeff Okudah or Trey Flowers, because I think he's been playing in the lineup while Okudah's been out. Target them. Get Okudah, Laporta and Amon-Ra and Khalif going up against the intermediate in the middle as well, because Ellis is good, as you said, as a run defender, but in coverage, not so much. And Troy Anderson, a former pod favourite out of Montana, I believe it was. He was a Bobcat. Montana State. Athletic guy, but hasn't come all together. Kind of like our Derek Barnes. He hasn't got everything together yet. To target them with Gibbs, Laporta, Amon-Ra, Leaf over the middle, get the game going. And then on the ground, mix it up, as Steve says. That's my big issue is obviously just running Gibbs up the gut, which we need to do to keep you guys honest. We can't, if we put him out and just constantly run him outside, you guys are going to clue onto that, and Ellis is going to tackle him for loss of 2 yards every single time. So we need to mix it up, use Gibbs on both inside and outside, get Bam Knight going, because as we saw last year against us, he ran pretty well against us. Reynolds, get him going up the gut because he's very good on the inside zones. Just manipulate you guys with our varied run game, and then when we get the chances on the deep action shots, take them, because that's how we're going to win the game. We're not going to. You guys are built to sort of play against yourselves in a way. So if we just try and match you pound for pound, just run out the ball, you guys have got the experience in that, and you've got perhaps a better personnel for it. So we need to sort of mix it up, bring the fight to you guys. When you guys want to grind out the clock, we go quick, get your offense back out there and tire you guys out by your own sort of game plan.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see the tight ends involved more. I think we've got to, we've got to protect Amon-Ra. We do have to protect Jameer to a degree. I mean, we've got to run the ball, but I think you've got to start getting clever with them, because we haven't seen Jamie so far at Mitchell. We haven't seen a great deal of him. Brock's been struggling in with his blocking, but Sam's been great. And when you've used Sam to great effect, it just makes this offense so more versatile. So I'd be bringing them in a hell of a lot more this week and sort of trying to hit that middle of the field. But it all depends on the line. This is like the line has got to hold up on that right-hand side. So, and we need to see how Atlanta's defense stacks up against that. And we'll move on to that side of the ball, because we've spent a while talking about offense. Just one last question we've had in from the chat for you, Big Low, about the offense. So it's from Matthew Grisak. He says to ask you if he would want Bijan to have more touches or wants balance in the scheme with Atlanta. You run the ball approximately 70% of the time. That's a heavy workload for a pair of running backs. I don't know, but are you happy with the amount they're running them, or would you like to see them balance it a bit more just to keep the two big running backs fresh?
Well, I mean, I think those first 2 games, I think they got a lot of carries, but one thing that we have to remember, Cordero Patterson's been hurt. So if it's one of those cases where if he could come back and maybe take 8-9 carries away from him, I mean, I'll be perfectly fine with that. But I mean, we also have to remember, this is the NFL. Running backs are rode hard and put away wet, whenever they first come into the league. So it's like, look, they're young. Go ahead and get what you can get. And, while they still have those fast twitch muscles, you can get them the ball as much as you can.
No, absolutely. Right, okay, let's move it on to the defensive side of the ball now, and we'll start with the Falcons. So, we know all about your offense in terms of the plethora of weapons you've got there, but, tell us a little bit more about the defense, what you've seen from them this year, some of the players in there. I mean, what have they done well on defense this year?
So it's crazy because it's like over the years, our defense has had trouble getting off the field. Now it's one of those situations where, especially the first game of the season, our defense got off the field fine, but on third down on offense, we were 2 for 10 as far as third down conversion. So it was a lot better week 2, but this year it's like our defense, they're doing a whole lot better getting off the field on third downs. Y'all have mentioned Jesse Bates. He's been a breath of fresh air for our safety room and for our whole defense. We made a lot of moves. We brought in Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, Caden Ellis, Jeff Okuda, along with the Jesse Bates of the world. So it's like this defense is completely revamped. Trey Flowers, if I'm not mistaken, I believe 65% of our defense are new starters that they're added on to the team. So we're feeling good about it. What I hope that we could do a little bit better is get to the quarterback, because we haven't been able to get to the quarterback as much as we wanted to so far. But just getting off a third down, that's something that we've been doing a whole lot better this year.
So PFF is one of bastion of whether people trust it or not, but it grades you as sort of the run defense been really good so far this year. I know against the Packers you kind of kept them quiet for the most part. Is it fair to say, is it that sort of where the defense starts for you guys? You're able to stop the run a lot better this year, and now you're getting quarterbacks having to throw in third and long, stuff like that, and Bates has had God knows how many picks so far. Is that sort of like how they've been working it so far without necessarily applying pressure to the quarterback? It's stop the run, make them make mistakes rather than get into them.
Yeah, man, it's just, it's simple. It's the same way 2 + 2 = 4. Is the same way as if you can stop the run and you can run the ball, you'll give yourself a whole lot more chances to win ball games. So that's what it's all about. You can stop the run, and then you can impose your will on the other team. It's one of those things. It's a morale killer. You're like, dang man, we can't stop them, but they keep stopping us, kind of thing. So yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
Derek, just in the YouTube chat, Okuda's not confirmed as playing it. It's questionable. He probably will, but as of now, it's not fully confirmed. Big shout out to Luke G, who's in the building. I know he's asking after Steve. I don't know whether Steve's seen that, but Steve, Luke's been missing you, so you got to chat with him at some point. He's once your font of knowledge about the Detroit hip hop scene, and he misses it when you're not around. So give him a shout out while he's in there. Open up, guys. Any questions you've got regarding the defense for Big Low?
So for me, this game, it will be decided by one thing. I'm pretty sure I've seen your defense has stopped all fourth down conversions. I'm pretty sure you've not given up any fourth downs, and we are one of the most aggressive. This is where the game for me will be decided. Can we extend drives, or can you force turnovers on downs? That's pretty much what it's going to come down to. So what has changed from, like say from a team that was struggling to get off the field, suddenly, like say when you stand tall, like you've been really aggressive in the defensive calls on fourth down, and you're doing, like say, a really good job of getting off the field.
Yeah, but one thing that we do have to keep in mind with that though, Ryan, is that yes, we stopped everybody on fourth down so far. Just remember one thing though: this is our first game away, so it's like we had a little bit of momentum playing those first 2 games at home. So, once we come to Ford Field, it's going to be a completely different kind of situation. We're not going to have that same crowd energy and, things like that.
How much do you think that'll affect you? We saw that the Seahawks did struggle with such a loud crowd in Ford Field.
Yes.
Do you think that could throw you off your rhythm?
Yes, of course. On offense, especially for us on offense with our young quarterback, that could definitely throw us off our rhythm. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Dan Campbell mentioned that as well in one of his press conferences earlier this week. He said, hey, remember, this is their first away game. And, you know, I heard about how loud Ford Field gets. So, I mean, that's a huge component of it.
I was going to ask about...
Go on, Steve. Yeah, go on, Steve.
I was going to ask about your defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. So he's come over from the Saints. Obviously, I think he spent 5 or 6 years coaching their D-line and working with people like Cam Jordan and Marshawn Lattimore. So what would you grade him, and what's he brought to the defense?
So I'm not going to lie to you. And as a matter of fact, I have a video where I'm highlighting, you know, some of the great things that he does on my channel. But I would give him an A, because number one, just like I believe Rob mentioned earlier, number one, you stop every 4th down attempt so far this season. But I mean, guys are just playing a whole lot more disciplined. Everybody's, you know, at least if they're not filling their gaps, you can see that they're trying to get to their gaps where they can fill them. I mean, the defensive line is playing very aggressively, and I mean, if it's not working with our guys up front, you know, he'll do, you know, the opposite of what, you know, your defensive coordinator is doing, and he'll kind of switch it up a little bit to see if he can simulate some sort of pressure. So I would definitely give him an A.
I mean, I'm just going to say, the way that you answered that with no hesitation, once again, that was big chat. And the other phrase that we use a lot on this podcast, we keep receipts. So, you know, if things get nasty, if points get put on the board, if the defense gets burned, we keep receipts, especially receipts on big chat.
Hey, look, I could put remember to keep receipt from what I said earlier in the show too, though. Now, like I said, this is the first time we're playing an experienced quarterback this season with this defense. So I could definitely see points getting put on the board. I could definitely see it.
And likewise, you know, if you do keep us down to 0 points or whatever, you are welcome to come back on and, you know, big chat some more. Just chat the whole thing. We'll be here Monday. We'll be free for it all. So, you know, we give you opportunity both ways.
Now, what's the opposite of big chat, though? Because, like, if it's the truth and everything, what's the opposite of big chat?
Chicago Bears talk. All fluff. All fluff. They're just empty words. That's all that is. Sorry. Ash, have you got anything you want to ask about the defense?
Yes, you mentioned just about how if you're not getting pressure, your Nielsen like to mix it up. Is that perhaps the reason why both the starting safeties have higher pass rushing grades than the edge rushers? Is it because their defensive line is taking up those spaces, and then your double A gap blitzing, you're bringing Jesse Bates, Richie Grant on those blitzes? Is it because of those, or is it because they're doing particular things that when they blitz that perhaps they should teach to the defensive line or something? So what is creating that pressure for you guys in those blitzes that perhaps we need to pick up on when we face them, because perhaps that's the best way to get Goff off platform?
Yeah, to be honest with you, and yes, you're right. The safeties do have really good pass rushing grades. I need to go back and look and see how often they have pass rush. But I think the biggest thing, as far as, you know, with these simulated pressures that Ryan Nielsen has done, the biggest connection is Caden Ellis. You know, because Caden Ellis came over with Ryan Nielsen from the Saints. So it's like he knows the offense, you know, like the back of his hand. The defense like the back of his hand. So it's like, you know, while he's out there in the moment, he's the one, you know, with the green dot, and he's calling all of the pressures and everything, because he knows what to look for, what to apply in what situation. So, you know, and so he'll say, hey, you know, Jesse, I need you to come up here, fill up this C gap. Troy, you go fill Jesse's spot. We'll be good in that regard. Everybody, I'll make sure that y'all shift to the left. You know, so I mean, I feel like Caden Ellis is a big reason, you know, why that's so successful, because in a certain extent, you know, he's like a form of Ryan Nielsen on the field.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so Derek actually raises a good point here in the chat. He goes, Detroit needs to take advantage of Atlanta's lack of experience. They are young on both sides of the ball. You've got to overload the sensors, make it loud, make them think, like you say, it's the first game on the road. I didn't actually realise just how young your team is. I think it's below 25 years average age, one of the lowest in the NFL. We've had a similar situation the last few years. We've been rebuilding from scratch. A lot of young guys, a lot of draft guys, a lot of undrafted free agents, and it's been a painful growing process. But, I mean, given they are that young and they've won too early on, one in the conference, are you surprised by how well they've taken to it, given they are that young? And are there any issues that they've had so far that come with that could be exploited?
I mean, yes. I mean, we're definitely, and think about it like this too, Anthony. They averaged an age of 25 years old with Calais Campbell on the team, who's
about 80.
He was there, whenever the Israelites left Egypt. So
it's a long time.
It's a long time, So I mean, so it's one of those cases where just imagine taking him off. The team, the average would be even lower than that. I mean, think about it. Your quarterback, I think he's 22, 23. If 23, I think he's like 22. Drake London's like 22. I think Kyle Pitts just turned 21, or maybe he's 22. Like, so all of your big name guys, your big name stars, is like they're really young. So I mean, I feel like they've handled it well. But I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. This is the game that we circled whenever the schedule came out, because we said this is going to be our measuring stick game to tell what this team is going to be capable of this season.
This is the game where I measure my hairline, because I generally lose about half of it due to the stress that is brought on by this particular fixture. But oh boy. Is there any other questions you got about the defense before we talk about the Lions one, guys? Oh, I guess, like we say with the offense, who do we need to watch out for? We may not be aware of, but is there someone hiding on that Falcons defense we're not aware of who could potentially have a big impact in this game going forward? And don't say Richie Grant, because it'll kill me.
Richie Grant.
God damn it! Is he playing well there? That's all I want to know. Gus.
Yeah. He's been playing well. It's like the thing with our defense is that we don't have a strong and a free safety. It's like both of them come up and fall back accordingly, because that's part of that whole Ryan Nielsen coaching scheme. I don't know if you heard this term in today's NFL, this whole positionless football. I don't know if y'all heard it. Right? That's what that's the one thing that Ryan Nielsen has been trying to put in place. The same thing with offense, positionless football. So yeah, we don't have strong safeties and free safeties, but Richie Grant, he's looked like a different player so far this year.
Excellent. You say, is there anyone else sort of hidden away on that defense we should maybe be aware of?
I would say Arnold Ebiketie. He's not started. So our outside linebackers listed, our starting outside linebackers are Bud Dupree and Lorenzo Carter. And they're serviceable, but I feel like Arnold Ebiketie could kind of take that next step this year, since he's has a lot of vets that he could look at, like the Bud Duprees and the Calais Campbells, Grady Jarrett's, and Lorenzo Carter. So I mean, he could definitely take that next step, and hopefully might make some plays tomorrow. Is that big chat, Steve?
I would say that's mid. That's mid
chat. Okay.
Mid chat.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
I'm not writing out a receipt on that one.
He's got plenty already. He's got those on the shelf already. They'll be stored away for a rainy day.
I guess just one last thing on your defense, and just on Jeff Okudah. The Lions fans have had a really complicated relationship with Jeff Okudah, because he was taken, I think, at number 3 pick in the COVID year. He had that really bad injury. He on an absolutely talent-free defensive roster at the time, and the expectations were always crazy. Then a terrible Achilles injury, came back, and obviously because that's where we're as a franchise at the moment, he was expected to go straight into CB1, and I mean he was just getting torched. But he kind of rebuilt his career a little bit, and for me, one of the highlights of last season was when he picked 6 Justin Fields in the Chicago game. Just awesome. and I think we were kind of all kind of glad to see him go, in that we just felt that it had so much kind of like negativity around him. He needed to like go and make it somewhere else and have a clean slate. But I think all Lions fans after this game will be rooting for him to have a big season for the Falcons.
Yeah,
such a nice guy.
He is. I met him at training camp. He is like such a nice guy. Very, very humble. You could tell that this year he's really focused on, kind of getting his career back on track. But I mean, from what I've seen at the practices and training camps, it's like the talent is there. We just need him to stay healthy. I've been to training camp like 3 times, and I went to 2 OTAs, and he forced like 4 turnovers. So I'm like, I mean, the talent is there. 3 interceptions and a fumble. And that's in 5 settings. So it's like the talent is there. We just, hopefully he can just stay healthy.
I mean, it's a case with us. If we had a nickel for every time we had an uber talented player who just couldn't get it together because of injuries, we'd all be really, really rich. It's just been horrible, some of the guys here. But yeah, we wish Jeff all the best. But just not tomorrow. If he plays bad tomorrow, don't get on his back. Just know that he still loves his guys here in Motown. And, he's doing us a favour there. But, I'm just going to switch it now before we sort of do our overall predictions for this game. We've got to talk about it, guys. It's the elephant in the room. Big elephant. The Detroit Lions defence. Now, just look at the looks of the faces there, Big Low. It's just, this doesn't even begin to cover it. But me, Ryan and Ash had to try and dissect this on the Seattle review game the other week. We've had a week to think about this, guys, but I'll go around you. Ryan, the defence, I know, Glenn needs to do a lot here, but what does this defence need to do tomorrow in terms of just everything about how it goes about? We've got injuries on there. Who do you want to see in there? What do you want to see them do from what you've seen of the Falcons? What's the best way of our defence having some sort of a positive impact on this game?
It is drawing an imaginary box on the outside of tackles, and it's playing Ash will say we're playing against the Bears in the past. We've got to get up and we've got to get out, but the ends can't go too far. Bijan Robinson has got to stay within the tackles. We can't go past him. They can't be too aggressive in pass rush. They can't get forced or bounced outside so he can get underneath them round. We win if we keep him in that imaginary box and make him go through one of the gaps in the offensive line. If he breaks contain, and we're the corners are having to one up and square up to him in the field, they're going to get left for dead. And if Will Harris is out there in the last line of defense and he's got to stay big and try and take down Bijan, well, honestly, Bijan could probably light up his cigar under the helmet before he's even made the cut, because he's got pay dirt, he's got money. But yeah, that's the crucial thing. So Kaminsky and Hutch, I need to see them keep contained. They've got to set the edge and they've got to bottle everything back inside. And then for blitzing, we struggled last week. Use if it's definitely a run player, it's good. You don't see a fullback or a blocker, a running back you think is going to pick up a block. Send in a Brian Branch or an Anzalone or a Barnes, and if Ridder gets the ball out quickly, just still hit him. As long as it's legal, just chip him. You got to let Desmond Ridder know that he can't just sit like Gino last week. Gino was making sandcastles last week. He was patting him down. He was making his little fort, digging into more, because he had 3.5 seconds. We've got to take at least a second off of that this week. We've got to be getting to the quarterback within 2.5 seconds max. That is going to be where we're going to win. The defensive line for me is everything.
Ryan, we're the Detroit Lions. We get penalised when we do legal tackles on the quarterback, let alone slightly legal ones. So I'm not going to get into the ref thing. We don't blame the ref.
Let's not talk about that, because last year with Tom Brady, we lost the game because of that. So yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Zebras hate lions.
It's
Zebras
fine.
Hate lions.
You're in a safe space here to talk about.
Oh,
refs.
okay.
We are terrible.
We hate the ref.
Ash, what do you want to see from the defense this week? In terms of maybe putting different players in there, scheming it up different. What they got to do against the Falcons?
Well, as Rai said, and I've been saying it since Monday's review show, Glenn has the perfect game plan in place already for Ridder with what we did last year, week 17 against Chicago. Don't get too fancy with it. Just play simple. Use the 5-man front. So, yeah, that'd be a lot more Kamish, a bit more Romeo, but use Charles to have Charles and Aiden as the outside linebackers, kind of with hands in the dirt. Then have Aleem, Kamish, Romeo, have Bugs active, have Broderick Martin active to plug up those A gaps. Just make sure that Ridder can't go off script, because doing all my PFF analysis and all that for the preview, Ridder is actually a lot better playing off script when he's having to move outside the pocket, throwing the run, than he is just standing there in a clean pocket. He's like Justin Fields. He sort of over-analyzes, over-processes things and makes mistakes. So let him do that. Let him stand in the pocket. Obviously get pressure on him to make sure that he's still getting the ball out, but just contain him in the pocket, make him have to go through the air to beat us, because as we all know, if Atlanta can run the ball on us with Ridder, with Bijan, with Tyler Allgeier, they're just going to tear us apart. If we force Ridder to pass, we really minimise that run game, then we should have a really good chance in this game. So for me, it's shut down the run, contain Ridder, force you guys to beat us through the air.
So to show the love that AG's getting at the minute, Brent goes, "Don't worry, Anthony. AG is salty in like the most sarcastic way possible because he's been mad in his press conferences this week." Derek goes, "For our defense to succeed tomorrow, AG needs to get a flat tire on the way to the game, and Dre Bly needs to take over as DC for the game." So that's where Glenn's at the minute. We've got rush more than 4 from CJ Rose, move Hutch around the line. Derek goes, "I'm most concerned about AG not making adjustments in the box. We're going to have to bring Branch and Walker into the box and probably have a third linebacker, but I worry about being out-coached." We'll talk about coaches in a sec. But Steve, I've left you to the end because you didn't get your say on this after the Seahawks game last week. But the defense, what has to change for you, for Glenn to start converting you back to the cause with him? What's he got to do tomorrow to put last week behind him?
Well, I think first of all, Ryan and Ash have absolutely nailed it in terms of talking about our run defense. So I'm not going to add to that. So for me, and we were talking just about Jeff Okudah and how expectations were always never going to match the reality. And let's not forget, Jerry Jacobs, our cornerback, is an undrafted free agent. Fantastic story, fantastic camp story from a couple of years ago. And he made it onto the roster. But Jerry Jacobs is not a cornerback one. And last week, he was absolutely exposed. And he was up against DK Metcalf. Now, DK Metcalf is a bad matchup for a lot of cornerbacks in the NFL. There's no shame in that. But for the defensive coordinator to leave him exposed with no help from the safeties, time and time again, putting him in man coverage against DK Metcalf, and we're sat there with our hands over our eyes just watching him get torched. It was embarrassing. And, Jacobs needs to play better, but, we did not help him out there. We can scheme a lot better to help out Jerry Jacobs until Emmanuel Moseley gets back. I think the one real positive on the defense in the secondary is that I've hardly heard Cam Sutton's name mentioned, and that's because he's just locking people down. But that leaves someone open, because with Seattle, if it's not Tyler Lockett, it's DK Metcalf. And then you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba. And, we can't afford to let Drake London or Kyle Pitts or whoever just absolutely trample all over him. So we really need to see from Aaron Glenn, I think, moving away from constant man coverage and mixing it up, playing a bit more zone, and just making sure that the safeties are there to help the corners. Because if that happens to Jerry Jacobs again, I don't know what confidence level he's going to have going into a really important matchup against the Packers. And I just don't want to see one of our roster just absolutely get destroyed, because the fans will be after him. We've got to do better. Got to do better in the secondary.
I tell you, Steve, that last week it's Desmond, he threw one interception against zone coverage, and he almost threw another one. They just dropped it against zone coverage. So, it could be one of those cases if, Coach Glenn did decide to go into that zone coverage a little bit more, especially against a young quarterback, playing his first away game this season. That could very well help. And also, it's like I was just looking at the numbers. It's like y'all do pretty good against the run.
Yeah.
So it could be one of those cases where y'all could force us to throw the ball. That could be that could be the game-winning ticket for y'all.
I was about to say, so for me, this is where it's. I like what we've done against the run, but I think tomorrow we're coming up against the most talented pair of running backs we have all season. I'm with Ash. You bring Bugs back in, you bring Broderick in for his debut. You stuff the middle of that defensive line to stop them running from there. You get your athletic guys on the edge, so you put Barnes out there. You have Hutch, you have Kamish, and for me, I dare you. Then I'd bring up the run defense and I would dare Ridder to throw at us. And I mean, it might get you burnt, but I think the way that the pass rush has been struggling, because I love our first and second down stuff, but we give away too many third down and longs. That's where the problem is. That's where the pressure and the secondary issues come from. So, first of all, we've got to stop them running the ball. So I'm going to dare you to do it, and I'm going to stack my line, because I believe in the guys to do it. And then that's where you've got to get creative with the guys in the secondary. When you have guys like Branch who are very versatile. Hell, you know what? I'll even say his name. Bring Will Harris in for this. Give Will a go, because he can play in multiple different roles. You've got to show the looks. And as Big Low said, if you show Ridder some looks, if you drop guys, if you confuse him, if you sort of put him off a little bit, that's where the opportunities are going to come. So for me, I think that's what I want to see him do. Do I really care if the pass rush goes against him? Well, of course I do, but I think there are better ways for us to utilise what we have at our disposal now, because the edge room is banged up. So stop the run, get him to throw, and get him with some of your more athletic guys in there. Hell, put Campbell in for this one as well. I want Jack Campbell marking Kyle Pitts all game. It's that because he's big, the body's there. He's going to be what hits us. Tight ends are a nightmare for us if they do throw at him, and you don't want Ridder to have his little safety valve there, but that's what I'd be doing. Just to finish off the defensive chat, Big Low, what our defense has not been good, but is there anything you worry that we can do, that you've seen us do maybe, that would worry you for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I've been preaching it, man. I'm worried about y'all getting after our quarterback. That's the biggest concern for me coming into this game. It's our first away game with, just like Derek said in the chat, essentially a rookie, and we've struggled so far in pass protection. So that's my biggest worry as of right now. Okay,
that's fair. And in terms of the game, so let's talk about the outcome of this. What do the Falcons have to do tomorrow for you, Big Low, to come away with the win? What have they really got to nail tomorrow to keep our offense quiet and to put up enough to come away with the win?
I think it's just one of those cases. So one big thing, I think the biggest factor is Amon St. Brown. I think he's going to play, but if he doesn't, I say just go man coverage and cover two, and just try to keep everything in front of you and see if you can get home with that defensive line. And then defensively. Then offensively, like I said, we got to pass protect, and of course we're going to try to establish a run, but I think we got to try to stretch the field out ourselves, and if we could just keep it, we just can't let y'all run us out of the building. Like I said, if y'all are up around 17, 21 points at halftime, it's going to be a long day for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so guys here, Ash, I'll start with you. What do we have to do to win tomorrow? Because, we can't disrespect these guys this week, 2-0. This is a very, very tough fixture for us. And I'm going to ask the question about must win in a minute, but this is a very big occasion for us. What have they got to do tomorrow to beat the Falcons?
Well, you said it earlier. Get them into third and longs and then don't give them up. I've seen too much in this past week with my team, both my American football teams, of just giving up the big third and longs. We can't afford to do that. We need to really nail down on those downs and get to the QB. I know Hutch is currently lead. Well, he was until Thursday night football happened. He was leading the league in pressures. Yet the defensive line has only got 1 sack, and that was when Geno Smith was running around like a headless chicken trying to make something happen near the end of the game. And that was with Alex Anzalone reading it well and making a good sack. We need to get home to Ridder, because if we don't shake him up, if we don't get him sped up with his processing and having to go for the defense quickly, it's going to be a long day where Atlanta can just run the ball on us pretty much at will, take the shots when they want to, and it will be close again. Glenn really needs to set down a statement with the defense this week, because otherwise we've got the short week to Green Bay, who are also a good running team, have a similar quarterback with Jordan Love. They'll see exactly how to beat us, and we could be going into week 5 with a 1-3 record, which is not good at all for where we're supposed to be going this season.
Steve, what are the Lions got to do tomorrow to get the dub?
I think for me it's about the turnover battle. We've coughed the ball up too many times on offense, fumbles, and obviously Goff's been brilliant at not throwing a pick, but that was a pretty poor throw last week. And for me it's always, I think back to the Super Bowl teams, like say Jesse Bates we're talking about at Bengals, and that Buccaneers team when they had a fantastic defense a couple of years ago. You're watching the defense play, and you're always hopeful that the defense are going to come up with a massive play, whether they're going to pick six, whether they're going to force a fumble. And for so many seasons, our defense has just been a big play free zone. And I want to see turnovers. I want to see defensive turnovers. I want to see defensive points on the board. So I think if we can win the turnover battle, I think the game's ours.
Ryan, what the Lions got to do?
First thing is, whether we liked it or not, or whether we thought they were true or not, penalties. Last week we played an ugly game and we hurt ourselves. Pass interference, unsportsmanlike conducts, 12 men on the field, all boneheaded, all of them extended drives, and ultimately were one of the daggers. Week 1, pretty clean. We need to go back to Kansas City game, clean it up. Like I say, no stupid penalties, because a team that can run the ball and will probably control time of possession, most likely, we cannot give them free yardage. And then second, 4th down, I said it, this is where the game is won and lost. They've got young Waku, I believe, a pretty good, reliable kicker. So I don't want to be getting into a position where they've got a chance to win a field goal and march down the field. So if we take points, we take points. We trust Riley Patterson. Like I said, we don't go for any 4th and 5ths at the 42-yard line in our own half. I do not want to see that again. We need to be a bit more savvy. I don't care what analytics say. Sometimes if points are there, take them. Like I say, because last time we left too many points out there on the field and it did ultimately cost us. So, yeah, 4th down and penalties for me.
I mean, if we were to lose by a field goal, you would see the first live ever human being spontaneously combust, I think. We're fed up of them at this point. We've just had way too many over years. For me, it's very simple for me. This team has got to show that it can win in pressure situations. I thought after the Chiefs game this was a problem we got over, but that's a big occasion, first game of the season. Your adrenaline's high, you can win that. And I'm not discounting that whatsoever. But last week, and I said it was a massive game for us against a team who were on the precipice of the playoffs. Can you do it at home when it matters? Because for the last 2 years, we've had next to no pressure games. Now they've lost. You're 1-1. We are going into a short week here, and this season can very soon get away from you, and this game's big for us. You've got to show you can win under pressure. You've got to play clean football, as has been said. You've got to stop the turnovers, stop the penalties, and most importantly, you've just got to go out there and play your best, because we haven't looked our best on offense so far. I don't think we've looked like the juggernaut we can be. The defense sure as hell hasn't. So you've got to show you can deal with the pressure. Dan Campbell preaches it, and that's what we've got to do for this. Right, we've been going for a while, guys. Appreciate all this. We need to get down to the predictions. And then I've got one last question for the guys in the lines, because a lot of people are saying this, but Big Low, you are the guest. You get the honour of going first in this one. What do you think the prediction is going to be tomorrow? And we will love you even if you predict a Falcons win.
Oh, man. I'll say 28-24 Falcons.
Heartbreak. With a last second touchdown or something like that, that's what it'll be. It always is with us. Ash, prediction.
31-24 Lions.
Steve?
I'm just going to flip Big Country and go 28-24 Lions. I think it'll be like a tight game, and I think it'll be like one score game. But I think we can do it, and I think the crowd will be a big factor.
Ryan?
A big chat, Steve. A big chat.
Ryan?
Wait till we're the Packers next week. That'll be some big chat.
Oh God, yeah.
He loves that more than anybody going. Sorry, Ryan. Prediction.
I don't see a high scorer. I see 21-20 Detroit. I think it's going to be the last team to hold the ball wins.
Oh, you're thinking like me, but I'm thinking it's going to be... I've got 31-30 to the Lions, and it's going to be a walk-off field goal, because we need a walk-off field goal for... I think it's going to be big. I think they're going to run the ball really well. They'll kill clock, and I think we'll score a little quicker, but it's going to be a high scorer. So, yeah, I mean... I can't wait. These occasions are nerve-wracking. Between these two teams, it's nerve-wracking. So, but I'm absolutely looking forward to it. And before we sort of get to the end bits here, we've got to ask the question, guys. And I'm going to answer this first. 3 games into the season, is this a must-win game for Detroit? Because it's like 3 weeks in. But for me, I'm going to honestly look you in the eye and say, yes, it is. You are on a short week here. We're going to the Packers on Thursday. You can very soon be 1-3 in the season, and then if you want to go to the playoffs, you've got to go 9-4 over the rest of the year. Realistic, you've got to win 2 to everyone, and we know in the NFL, any given Sunday, it's hard to win games, and you've lost 2 on the bounce at home. I don't want to be behind the chains again. Teams who go to the playoffs, more often than not, are in front of the chains, and this for me is a big test of the mental character of this team. And if they fail twice in a week at home to opposition who, with the greatest of respect, if you want to make the playoffs, you have to beat teams like the Seahawks and the Falcons. You have to, with the greatest of due respect at home. It's must win for me, and I don't think there's any other way about it. And if they lose, I'm going to have serious questions about this team. And again, not been hyperbolic, but I think it is. I'll go the other way around this time. Ryan, is this a must-win game for the Lions?
No. But before we play tomorrow, next week is an absolute must-win. The easiest route to the playoffs is through the division. So when we meet the Packers, whatever happens tomorrow is a must-win. So no, tomorrow is not a must-win. If you'd offered me 2-2 out of the first 4 games, but beating the Packers, I would have taken it before the year started. I'd have been fairly comfortable. But yeah, tomorrow, if we win, it's great. If we don't win, it will all be about the manner of the loss. But yeah, next week, absolutely must win. I don't care if it takes a tsunami or hurricane. Jordan Love, I don't know, like getting his fingers stuck in someone's helmet and getting decapitated. At all costs, nothing's off the table. But tomorrow, the players have got to show the fans they care about losing at home. All of them came out last week and said, "Oh guys, we're sorry we let you down, bumper crowd." If they come out tomorrow and play like arse, I'm going to go to Twitter and say, all the players, you fucking liars. Like I said, it wasn't true, were it? You didn't mean it. So I'm going to call them out on the
will.
Yo, you've missed this, haven't you, Steve? You've missed Ryan when he goes into Rambo there. But for you, Steve, is it a must-win game for the Lions?
Yeah, I think this is a must-win game. And so Big Country said, in terms of yardstick game, that he circled the Lions on the calendar as a game that they've got to win if they're serious about winning the NFC South. And I think it's the same for us. There's no way we are going to make the playoffs if we can't beat a team like the Falcons at home. And when I say a team like the Falcons aren't going to, I don't think, win 12 or 13 matches this season. But they're not going to be, looking at a high pick either. I think the Falcons are going to finish somewhere between 8, 9, 10 games won this year. So I think that this is a must-win game.
Okay, fair.
And I think, and I think the Packers, we've seen that we can get up for the Packers, but we've got to get up for the Falcons. Teams like the Falcons at home, we've got to put them away.
Yeah. Ash, must win or not just yet?
In the short term, yes, we need the momentum. So then when we head to Green Bay, we've got that little extra push. We're not going on there in a 2-game slide and the heads are starting to drop already. But in the long run, looking at the schedule from now until the bye, probably maybe not. If we can get to the bye at 3-3, 4-2, having lost this game and maybe lost against Carolina in a couple of weeks, because obviously they're one of our bogey teams as well. Just look at last year, what happened. We need to be heading to 3-3, 4-2 at the bye, because otherwise, when we come out of the bye, we've got the Ravens, the Chargers, the away game at the Bears, the Saints, all these sort of the harder games right after the bye. We need to be in the position then to maybe take a couple of hits then swing back at the end of the season where we've got the easier running comparatively to really pick up those wins. And in the short term, yes. In the long term, maybe not so much.
So it's a bit split in the chat as well. Some people saying Green Bay is the must-win game, like Ryan says. Some saying it is now. And everyone's predicting pretty close games, actually, which is good for your team, Big Low, because usually it's a very partisan crowd in here. Well, everyone's a little bit nervous after that Seahawks game. But I'm not going to leave you out on this one. If the Falcons win tomorrow, what would that mean for you and as a team? Because people like to win, but it's a young team. But you said you've been surprised maybe by them so far. If they were to come out and go 3-0 tomorrow, how big would this be for how far you think this team can go this year?
Man, it'll be huge. Not only will we be 3-0, but we will be 3-0 in the conference. Because if we win tomorrow, that means we beat Carolina, our division rival. You beat the Packers and the Lions. Yeah, that would be huge. That would be huge for playoff seeding, and it'll just give us some confidence. So, I mean, that moving forward is one of those cases where you kind of start to look ahead for what this team is capable of, and in playoff scenarios.
So, at the minute before 2-0, do you think that maybe our playoff periphery this year is would you say from what you've seen, or do you need to see the road performance first?
I'll talk for y'all.
For you, for your guys.
Oh yeah. I think that's what I predicted before the season started. I said I think we could make a playoff run, and one thing that travels well in the playoffs is a run game and defense. So those are two things that we have.
All right. How many games have you got the Falcons winning? Like when you looked at the sort of season ahead, where did you kind of predict the Falcons finishing up?
Yeah, so I said 10. That's what I said before the season started. So I'm gonna kind of stick with it. These next 2 games that we have, they're going to be pretty tough because we got y'all, and then we got Jacksonville and London, and then moving forward, the schedule kind of initially we thought the schedule would be a little bit lighter, but I know we got Houston. That's but you never know. Just like you said earlier, any given Sunday, and then we got the Washington Commanders a little bit later, and that's. Look, I think they're 2-0 too, so you never know.
Can I give you some inside knowledge?
What's that?
So tomorrow you're going to go into Ford Field, and it's going to be the most intimidating atmosphere. It's going to be a cacophony of noise. It's going to be intense. It's going to be the fans just absolutely all over, the team. And then you go to London and see the Jacksonville Jaguars fans, and it's not going to be like that at all.
Really?
It's going to have the energy of a wet paper bag.
What?
And the Falcons fans are going to out-sing and out-shout the Jaguars fans.
Wow.
But hopefully
I thought they were going to...
Yeah. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I thought the Jaguars fans would be there live in full effect.
Yeah, having been to a couple of NFL games, they're very partisan crowds. It is Jags fans, but they're actually not as big over here as the media will lead you. It's very split. In fact, actually, I think like the biggest supported teams over here by a poll that NFL UK did earlier this year were the Packers, unfortunately, the Cowboys, and the Patriots.
Really?
Yeah.
There are quite a few Falcons fans over here, though, so you may get to see a lot of the British Falcons faithful. They are a good bunch. We chat with them, the official one, over here quite often. So hopefully you'll get to see a lot of the good Brits over here, and you'll see fans from all over. So anyhow, I know we've been going a long time. Thank you everyone for this. Has anyone got any other questions for Big Low before I let him hype up his channel and everything before we get out of here?
Good luck for the season, man.
Yeah.
Definitely, I appreciate it, Steve. Definitely, good luck to y'all too. Like I said earlier, y'all have a great team, and I'm gonna tell you, Dan Campbell, he's actually my favorite coach in the NFL right now. So, you can
come back. No, you big up DC. You are allowed back on this pod, absolutely. But again, thank you ever so much for coming on with us this evening and giving us a vast insight into this Falcons team. I appreciate you. Going through, having to deal with a delay at the start and then me cutting out halfway through this. So thank you for dealing. But just tell everybody about your channel if they want to come and find you, learn more about the Falcons. Just hype your channel up. This is your platform.
Definitely. So look, my name is Big Low Kuntry. I'm just an old country boy, former football coach that loves to sit around and talk about sports. You can actually find us at Big Low Kuntry Sports on YouTube. It's spelled Kuntry. I didn't realize I was spelling it wrong until I graduated from college. But anyway, I'll make sure that y'all check it out. Also, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Big Low Kuntry, and we sit down and just have a good time. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to check to see. I might do a live tonight. Talking about what just doing a preview of tomorrow's game. We call it a Saturday night pep rally, where we kind of get together, talk about some numbers, X's and O's and things like that, what things we need to look for, and then normally we do a live the night after the game. So look, if there are any Lions fans in here, feel free to come by. We chop it up, we have a good time, and everybody on my platform is very welcoming. So y'all feel free to come by and have a good time with us.
Again, did you say that it's called Big Low Kuntry Sports?
Yes.
I mean, marketing idea. You can do better than that. What about Big Low Kuntry's Big Chat?
You're gonna be running with this now.
It's there, isn't it? It's there.
Look, it's there. It got a little ring to it. I kind of like it. Big Low Kuntry's Big Chat. I might have to tell my wife's name is Coach Roney. I call her Coach Roney because we're a coaching staff. So my wife's name is Coach Roney. I'm gonna have to kick that by Coach Roney to see what she thinks about Big Low Kuntry Big Chat. I'm gonna have to.
You tell Coach it's time for a rebrand.
Oh God!
I'll let her know, Steve. I'll let her know.
Oh, I've loved this, guys. Thanks ever so much for this evening. This has been great. Thanks to Grandizer early in the stream for sending us a super sticker in there. Appreciate that, Grandizer. Brent has just sent in $2 as well. Really appreciate that. Hope you've all enjoyed the show despite the technical difficulties earlier. Just got to get through all the little bits first. So, as I mentioned on our Twitter, this is kind of the first of our 7 for 7 today because we've got the short week next week. We're live for the next 7 days. So tomorrow, Matt is finally back off holiday and his lazy ass is going to start doing some work on the channel again. Matt and Ash, maybe some of the others will be live streaming during the game. So go check them out. Go hang with them. Hopefully it's, we don't have, or hopefully we do have a really big finish show. We get some new great reactions from them. You'll see them all on TikTok. But join Matt and Ash tomorrow. On Monday, of course, we will be doing the Atlanta Falcons review show. Big Low, if you want to come on, if you win, you're more than welcome. Just fire us a message. You'll come back on and chat about the game afterwards. So you're more than welcome. Tuesday, we will be doing the Green Bay Packers preview show. I know the one Steve's looking forward to because he loves chatting Green Bay. We've got Peter from Packers UK coming on with us. You will have seen him during the draft. He's absolutely wonderful. He's going to come on, give us some insight into the Packers. Wednesday, me and Ryan will be back talking college football, where I'm going to have to talk nice about Florida State again, which I absolutely hate. Thursday, the guys again will be back with a live stream at stupid o'clock at night here. Lions at Packers. It's about 1 a.m. for us, but we'll all be there going through the night for that one. And then on Friday, we will be breaking down the Green Bay Packers game. So you've got us 7 days in a row. So come check us out. Come give us the support there. We really appreciate you all. You know where to find us. Roar of the Lions UK, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all that good stuff. And yeah, we will see you again tomorrow. And hopefully we'll go 2-2. I mean 2-1, but who knows. But until then, thank you to the panel for bearing with me and staying up so late this evening. Thank you to Big Low. Really appreciate you. We will see you again tomorrow. Take care, guys. One pride.
One pride.